Good evening, ladies and germs. Welcome to another episode of Football Clowns Anonymous. This is your co-host, Kurtis Pinkney. I'm here with my co-clown, Ren the Scholar Smith. Dr. Ren the Scholar Smith.
Skull Vikings.
Let's fucking go. We're talking about the first place in the NFC Vikings.
We're talking about the first place in the NFL after the Chiefs screw up this game to the Saints currently in progress. Just to be totally clear.
You know, I want to just give you a minute to bask in this. First, we saw the Vikings take out the Green Bay Packers in Lambeau Field, or at Lambeau Field, in a thriller where the Packers almost did the most Packer and Viking thing ever. And then they followed that up by taking down the Vikings Voldemort, for all intents and purposes, overseas in London, where they made Aaron Rodgers look like, insert bad. They made Aaron Rodgers look like Zach Wilson.
Oh, man. See, I thought you were going to say Deshaun Watson in the spirit of Voldemort.
However, I thought about it, but we're a Jet. let's lean into it.
I'll be honest. I like Zach Wilson better because that's a nightmare that's a nightmare that Jets fans want to forget, and now here it is following them around like gum on your shoe. Yeah. Absolutely amazing. Yeah, I mean, I never thought we would beat the Packers and then Aaron Rodgers in back-to-back weeks. Truly incredible. There was a lot of very spicy games this week that were very fun to watch. That, of course, in my own personal opinion, was the most exciting. But there's certainly quite a bit out there that really makes the NFL fan quite happy.
Of course, and let's not skip over this real quick. I want everybody to take note of Dr. Smith's demeanor as he talks about the Minnesota Vikings being the best team in the NFL right now. Notice how it is a very reserved, cautious demeanor. He's not celebrating. He's not jumping for joy. He's not unhinged right now. I was texting this man and his wife in our family group chat, and both him and his wife still found a way to downplay the current state of the Minnesota Vikings. And I mentioned in that group chat, you guys' PTSD needs to be studied because there is absolutely zero reasons why you should not be acting a fucking fool right now.
Hey, we have
Explain yourself.
We have been hurt way too many times. There is a childlike, and actually this was true before the game, before we even beat the Jets. There was a childlike excitement inside of my body that I was so excited for this game. It's like, the 4-0 Vikings are going to London to play Aaron Rodgers, and I was so excited. That's a part of me. There's another part of me that has seen sadness like no one should ever see. It has seen great teams crumble at the exact moment where they should not. The team a couple of years ago. Go ahead.
And I would say, generally speaking, the teams that you're speaking of would have lost this game to a 40-year-old Aaron Rodgers who got his ankle rolled up and knee popping and locking and all that other stuff. And he would have completed that comeback as he has many, many times in the past. But guess what happened, Ren Smith? Excuse me. Dr. Ren Smith. Dr. Ren the Scholar Smith.
They won the game.
They won the game. Go.
They won the game. They won both of those games. And this is the reason why we're not as excited as we are, because we've seen so many of those games go the other way. We've seen the Packers at Lambeau down 20 points or whatever the hell they were down, come back for no goddamn reason and win that game. And we've seen Aaron Rodgers down 6 points with the football in the fourth quarter. How many times have I seen this and just watched in a horror as all my dreams come undone before my eyes? So I am.
Guess what you get to say this week?
5-0. 5-0.
I'm gonna go ahead and highlight it in the show notes for you. What are we saying this week?
Fuck Aaron Rodgers.
Let's fucking go. Before we move on, we got a couple other things we got to touch on. The Oracle back in peak form. The Oracle parlay currently.
I love how you're so excited to say that. You were so excited to say that.
I'm not excited to say this, but if history is any indication, the Oracle flopping like this week, and to be clear, I've currently whiffed on 3 of 4 legs, and it's looking like the Saints are going to fuck up the 4th leg. I am currently, but that means the Oracle's parlay next week. that boy hitting. So we good. We're good, bro.
In and out.
Good.
It's just one week off, 1 week in. But the way that your odds have been, and historically, you're going to definitely make money the way that you like to place these bets if you're hitting 50% of them.
That's what I'm saying. I was thinking about that. I was like, all it takes is about 2 or 3, and we're good for the season. That's all we need. And then with the scholars bets going crazy, which we didn't even touch it. We don't even have that in the show notes. Ren out here going crazy with his round robin teaser legs. Going nuts.
I'm hurt. I'm hurt by the Oakland. Wow. I'm hurt by the Las Vegas Raiders that they couldn't keep that game closer. It's actually really interesting to me to see how competent Denver suddenly is. They look like they found a quarterback for the first time since Peyton Manning. Potentially. You can make that case.
I was going to say, I mean, the Raiders threw 3 picks. I think it's very much more so about that defense than the offense. If I had to guess, I didn't look to or pay too close attention to that game, but if I had to guess, that defense probably set up the offense in quite a bit of great situations.
That's true, but it still falls on the offense to not screw it up. And some of these quarterbacks that they've had, for the last 8 whatever years have been genuinely awful. And I'm not saying Bo Nix is the second coming of Patrick Mahomes. I'm just saying, I saw a Broncos fan at work today who just stopped by. He poked his head into my office, not even for 10 seconds. And he looked at me and he said, "Hey, Ren, did your team lose this week?" And I looked at him and I said, "Did yours?" And we both said, "Nope." And then he walked away. That was it. He's super excited about this, that he has a quarterback again. This is a Broncos fan for the last, 55 years or something. I don't know how old he is, but
and the division looks very vulnerable right now. Obviously, the Chiefs are 4-0, and they're playing right now against the Saints. Believe they're about to go into halftime up 16-7, but that is quite possibly the most shaky 4-0 team I've ever seen.
Yeah, a couple of phony wins for the Chiefs, and I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I won't be surprised at all if they win this game at all. I expected it to be closer than this. I expected the Saints to do a better job than this. But yeah, it's been a couple of those phony wins. The one against the Chargers was just like they really eked it out, down 10-0, and they found a way. And Justin Herbert kind of having some issues in that game is like, come on, man! Like you need a clean win in this one, and you didn't really get it. And we'll see how this game kind of finishes out. But I agree with you that AFC West is not sort of the behemoth that it could be, and we'll see if the Chiefs end up stumbling down the stretch here a little bit.
Yeah, and speaking of the Saints, just watching this first half, I think we can probably say with a fair amount of confidence that they've turned back into the pumpkin we thought they were. Those first 2 weeks, the Panthers, Bryce Young led Panthers at that time. Okay, it makes sense why you blew the brakes off of them. And then the Cowboys. Week 2 Cowboys is basically a JV football team, so I don't even know if that counts anymore. Derek Carr, it was an aberration. Derek Carr looks like a shell of himself. I mean, he did get his apparently customary bomb touchdown to Shaheed to get them on the board, but outside of that, they really haven't been able to do much of anything. Carr looks terrible, in my humble opinion, of course. But so I think I'm going to have to ease up off my respect for them moving forward.
Yeah, it's really interesting the sort of hype and the way that the lines had moved around them to sort of give them that respect after those first 2 weeks, when you now kind of look back and realize they probably didn't deserve that. And that's an opportunity in the future for us to think about. It's really easy for people to have a recency bias, and the average bettor, I think, is going to lean into that sort of recency bias. And we've got to remember, also too, where do we expect this team to be at the beginning of the season? And do we expect them to be that far away from that? And, unless it's the Vikings, we should consider that these teams may regress to the mean for better or worse in a lot of these different senses. So we'll see if they can come back, but
And we talked about that in the early episodes of the season, the volatility of the early first few weeks of the NFL. And I think that is that, that phenomenon is kind of exaggerated in a sense, because a lot of teams are not playing any starters in the preseason. So the first 3 or 4 weeks kind of kind of, and it seems like anything goes those first few weeks. But I think this week is a pretty good example of how after all the teams shake off the rust, the starters get into a groove. That's when we start to see the pretenders and contenders kind of separate themselves a little bit and show out how we expected in the offseason when we're doing all our analysis and projections, et cetera, et cetera. And I think it's a great time to try and take advantage of that volatility. That's why I very much enjoy some goofy Oracle-like parlays, if you will, early in the season to try and take advantage of some of that volatility. And, I usually try to ease up off of those moving forward, but I also very much enjoy leaning into the Oracle bit. So I don't, we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting stuff. Yeah, you didn't want to move on past this before without touching on this, but last week I wheeled 5 teaser legs. So I put 5 teaser legs with each other, basically. So that's a total of 10 combinations. And I went 4 for 5. So that means that I'm 4 for 5 on the legs, which means I'm hitting 6 of the bets, which is enough to make money. I was really hoping that last leg would have hit. Another teaser leg that was available was the Jets and up to 8.5, which would have hit. I didn't do it. I couldn't do it. I should have, but I don't know. I felt like the Vikings could have won that game by 30 points. And I think for a while it looked like they could have. They ended up
Certainly
obviously
did.
not.
Yeah.
But yeah, Bucks +8 was an easy one. The Bengals +8.5 is easy when it goes to overtime. Colts +8.5 and Cowboys +8.5. All of these teams could have arguably been favored in their respective games, and that's why keeping them within a score is easy money in that sense. So I was happy. And then the Raiders blew it for me, but it's okay.
Yeah.
We're trying to hold steady.
Perfect.
Holding steady, and we're waiting for the Oracle to hit another one of his home runs, and instead he goes 0 for 3. So that's how we do it.
Yeah, and then Kurtis had some bets on over-unders. That Indy-Jacksonville game, man, that was a whiff. I had the under on points. There's no way. Had the over on Baltimore-Cincinnati. Those games until further notice, that is much must-watch TV.
Amazing.
Both those teams went fucking nuts. Did you see the play where Lamar stiff-armed the fuck out of, I don't know if it was a linebacker or a DN, double stiff-armed him just to throw a dot to his tight end in the end zone.
It was amazing. He threw back across his body. He did the thing you're not supposed to do, but he's so athletic. He's so athletic, it doesn't even matter.
That shit made a wiggle, bro. That was such a beautiful play. Oh man, that was great.
Yeah, it was pretty incredible game. And just trading forwards. Weren't the Bengals up 10 in that game late-ish or something?
Yeah, they blew it.
Yeah. And then the Ravens tried to blow it in OT, Lamar fumbles, and the Bengals can't hit a field goal, and man, that was exciting.
Yeah. Great football. That's why we watch. Why we don't watch Buffalo and Houston did not hit the over of whatever it was, 46.5, and that's because Josh Allen and that Bills offense, apparently Khalil Shakir is the reason that they are competent in any form or fashion, because yikes, 9 for 30, yikes, not great. Arizona, San Francisco stayed under 50.5 points. Not super surprised by that. Arizona's offense is suspect, and I've got a lot of question marks about I think that Niners team should be reevaluated a little bit. I don't know if they are a lock it, set it, and forget it. They're just blowing teams out now. Until McCaffrey returns, there's question marks. I don't know what exactly the issue is, but I mean, obviously CMAC, but you would think they would be performing a little bit better than they are, but not looking like it at the moment.
I mean, it's proof that no Super Bowl contender is necessarily just automatically a Super Bowl contender year in and year out perpetually until the end of time, right? I mean, it's easy to say with how good of a season they had last year that they're just an automatic lock to be, one of the top 4 teams in the NFC playoffs or something like that. But and maybe they still will be, it's early in the season. But it is interesting and worth remembering that, how volatile these things are and how just year-to-year changes and a couple of these unfavorable matchups can kind of flip these things on its head for them. So it's a tricky one. So but I know you talked a little bit about Ravens and Bengals already. I know there's a topic from last week that you're really excited to get into, and that is my ex-boy Kirk Thuggins on Thursday Night Football against the Bucks.
What the fuck? Like, let's just call a spade, bro. Like,
well
what
said.
the fuck?
Well said. Well said.
509 yards. What did he throw? 4 touchdowns? 5 touchdowns?
It was
Come
4.
on, bro. This guy, I didn't know we were watching prime Tom Brady and Peyton Manning on Thursday night. Since when did Kirk ball out in primetime TV?
Never.
It's just, bro,
Almost never. I should say almost never.
certainly not like this.
No.
Bro, at a loss for, and what's crazy is Bijan barely did anything that whole game. I know Bijan managers probably on suicide watch because there's no way, bro, that somebody's putting up 509 yards and 4 touchdowns. And Bijan, I don't think he had 50 yards that game. I don't know what his box score was looking, or his stat sheet was looking like, but it wasn't great. Oh man, and what's crazy is Buccaneers probably still should have won that game.
I think they should have. They were up. I don't think they were up 10. They were up 3 for sure late in the game. Got to find a way to close that out. Got to find a way. I mean, they made it to overtime and just a coin toss, man. And then let me just say this really quick. NFL overtime drives me nuts. That just the team that wins the coin toss goes down, scores a touchdown, and the game's over. Yeah. Like I'm not saying that college football overtime is perfect, but can we at least give the other team a chance? I mean, it's kind of sad to me, but yeah. At the same time, I have a vested interest in that because I expected the Bucs to cover, and even had a bet on them on the money line that didn't come through because of that sort of flukiness in overtime with the coin toss. So, yeah, it's a tough draw, but amazing performance from the Falcons. Still makes me wonder how that division's going to shake out, and I'm not convinced that the Bucs still aren't going to win that division because they got to play one more time in Tampa. And I don't know if we expect
assuming that stadium is still standing after what is it, 2 days from now?
Yeah, multiple hurricanes.
Yeah.
I mean,
shout out to the west coast of Florida because we'll be thinking about you. We probably get out the way. Would be take it from a couple meteorologists. Move. Don't do the stereotypical Florida thing and hang out. That is not the move this time. I don't think that would serve you well.
Run.
Yeah.
Good advice. We're drifting outside of our football games. But hey,
let's go ahead and bring that back.
No, it's good. It's good. We need to make sure we're speaking to the public with our really profound platform that we've developed.
Exactly.
On this podcast.
All of our 3 or 4 listeners that we still have.
It's amazing.
But I agree.
Thank you for listening. If you're listening to this, thank you for listening.
Yeah.
You're like probably the only one.
You are loved and appreciated. Reach out to us on YouTube, footballclownsanonymous@gmail.com. Like, comment, subscribe on Spotify, all that fun stuff.
Definitely.
With that, NFC South is wildly fascinating. I honestly almost wish the Saints pull off this upset of the Chiefs so that there are 3 teams at 3-2 in that division. Like just for the chaos. I mean, we already know the Panthers aren't going to be a factor. Andy Dalton turned himself back into a pumpkin, but yeah, I would I don't know when the next Saints Buccaneers game is going to be, but that will almost certainly be must-see TV whenever, because I'm sure the schedule makers in all of their glory kicked it to week 17 or 18 or something like that.
I don't know.
It's going to be a great game. As long as both of those teams stay healthy, there's no reason why they shouldn't be duking it out for first in that division for the rest of the season.
Yeah. And speaking of the Panthers, not that I want to dwell on them for too long, but are they just dog shit? Or because the Bears just went to work on them. And the question I have is, was that 1 week with Dalton? It was week 3 after they benched Bryce Young. Was that 1 week with Dalton an aberration? Or are the Bears actually good? Is it both? What's going on with that? Because the NFL fan that's been watching for the last year and change would say that Caleb Williams and the Bears didn't prove anything by beating a team that they should have beaten. But it just makes me kind of wonder a little bit.
Even though I will say Williams did have a good game. I think he was like 20 of 29 for a few hundred yards and I think like 40 or 50 on the ground or something like that. I mean, he had a pretty great game. I'm assuming the defense also, held down their end of the deal there as well. We just talked about the Saints looking spectacular against the Panthers. And how that was probably an aberration. I don't necessarily know if we can sit here and say the Bears are all of a sudden the real deal because they beat the Panthers. I would like to see it against better competition myself. So I hesitate.
Part of me, I would tend to agree with that. And part of me is also now looking at this NFC North. If the Bears are actually pretty reasonable team, middle of the road at least, look at those 4 teams in the NFC North. How exciting is that? Like it's going to be amazing. Actually, the Vikings have a bye next week, and then they play the Lions as their next game, which spoiler alert on our pick sheet is going to be Ren picking them to take their first L again because which I've been doing all season. But
I think it'll depend on Aaron Jones' health. If he's healthy, it's a W. If he's not healthy, basically when he left that Jets game with I think it was a hip injury, that's when things fell apart pretty much immediately, and they almost messed it up. So that'll swing who I pick in that game myself.
Yeah, that's probably fair. I got another game. There's another game I know you want to touch on. I'm gonna lead with this question: are the New York Giants good?
Oh man, no.
You can't say it. You can't say it and mean it though.
No, they're not. They're not. But Daniel Jones on the road apparently is the GOAT. I don't know what the fuck is going on. They're not good. They're on their backup running back. Their top receiver is out. There's no reason the Seahawks should have lost that game. The Seahawks were in prime position to take a commanding lead of that division, and they fumbled it. They messed it up, bro. Like I don't know how that's tough. No, they are not good. I refuse to say that. I can't. You can't make me.
No, I know. I would agree with that. I just wanted to see if I could make you say it, to be honest with you. I mean, it was a great game, and that field goal block at the end of the game, return for 6 it gives you warm fuzzies as a Giants fan to go all the way across the country. And that's a long trip. Go all the way across the country and win that game. That's kind of crazy. And we talk about, for a long time we've called Daniel Jones Hot Dog Jones. We had a couple of Hot Dog Joneses in the league. We had a couple of Hot Dog Wilsons. The Joneses being Daniel Jones and Mac Jones, the Wilsons being Zach Wilson and Russell Wilson. And until further notice, all quarterbacks that come into the league with the last name Jones or Wilson will be referred to this. But we might need to upgrade Daniel Jones temporarily to Bratwurst Jones. It's a better version of a hot dog. That is my opinion.
I think you're right. Who do they have next week? Oh God. Let's bring them back down to earth. Oh, the Bengals? Come on, dog. They can't. Oh, and they're at home, so yeah, Joe Burrow's throwing another 5 touchdowns. Order will be restored next week. We're good. Don't worry about it.
Are we really? Are we that convinced? I think I'm that convinced, but
yeah.
We'll have to see. That's an interesting one. Just still on the road. Got those question marks.
Speaking of shit that we are not convinced by, Doug Peterson barely saved his job on Sunday. I'm pretty convinced of that. If they would have lost that game, so the Jacksonville Jaguars eked out a win against Joe Flacco and the Jonathan Taylor-less Colts, and they really tried hard.
Barely did it.
Yeah, if they dropped to 0-5, nobody would have been shocked if Doug Peterson got fired.
This early in the season too, it's crazy.
Yeah. I don't know what to make of the Colts, to be honest with you. They seem to be better without Anthony Richardson. I'm guessing when he's healthy, you got to throw him back in. I mean, you've kind of committed to him at this point. I mean, that he seems to be the future of the franchise, but the offense does not run quite as nicely with him at the helm as it does with Goat Flacco out here slanging the pill all over the place, bro.
Making the receivers, those young receivers on that team are looking really good. Alec Pierce with the crazy one-handed catch on the sideline there late in that game. Yeah, it's kind of amazing. I mean, they really tried hard to lose that game, and they absolutely had to win it as an 0-4. They were the last winless team, I think, in the league. So they absolutely had to win it. I expect the Jaguars are still a bottom feeding team by the end of the year. But yeah, I don't know what you do. I don't know what you
Without
do.
a doubt.
How serious is Anthony Richardson's injury? I haven't followed that too closely. Do you have a
don't
sense?
remember, to be honest with you. I think he is probably going to be back this week. I think there were question marks on if he would be back this past Sunday. So I think he'll be back. And yeah, I guess you got to roll with him. But it's crazy. I mean, that well, no, the Texans are definitely going to take it. I was going to say that division is kind of wide open with mediocrity, except let's not forget the number one seed, the future number one seed in the AFC is hanging out in that division. So
featuring Goat Stroud, as I said coming into the year, the number one seed in the AFC, the Houston Texans, and I do still have a $2 bet on that at plus 900 odds. And I really like where I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I really like where that sits right now. I guarantee it's better than plus 900 now.
Yeah, I will say I do view them similarly to the Chiefs in that their dominance at the moment seems slightly fraudulent, that you had to eke out a win against a flailing Buffalo Bills team at the last second with the last second field goal. I mean, Josh Allen completed 9 passes, bro, and you guys won by 3 points. How does that even work? The math ain't mathing to me. I need to understand how that works.
No, they should have won the game by 17 at that rate, probably. If somebody told you that Josh Allen completed 9 passes, you'd have said, well, he either got hurt or the Texans won by 30, probably. Right. And neither one of those things was true. That was a struggle. That was a tough game for a Bills fan. But I think that that's also why the Texans have that claim to be among, at the very least, among top 3 team in the AFC for sure, because you took on the Bills, who a couple weeks earlier and I know it's the Jaguars, but they completely slaughtered a team. That's what they can do when they're really humming. And right. That's a seeding win. I mean, it's a win that matters for seeding potentially coming down the road to beat the Buffalo Bills like that. I mean, to beat the Bills at all is really beneficial for them.
Yeah. I 100% agree. And I mean, the Bills will be fine. I mean, I'm looking at the AFC standings right now. I mean, they're sitting in 4th, behind the 3 people or the 3 teams that we would expect: Chiefs, Texans, Ravens. Outside of that, I mean, the 5, 6, 7 seed Steelers, Broncos, Chargers. They don't need none of those 3 teams inspire too much confidence. Maybe the Steelers because of that defense. You know how I love a good defense, but I'm sure Josh Allen and the Bills will get it figured out, but not great. And honestly, with the state of a lot of these teams at the top, the Texans will probably hang out there just fine. The Ravens, I would imagine, over the course of the next few games, will probably find their way at the 1 seed the way they've been playing. But we'll see. That AFC conference is interesting. If you look at the standings of the NFC conference, I don't know what the hell is going on, bro. The Vikings sitting at 1 at 5-0. The Commanders at the 2 seed. Lions at the 3 seed. I guess that makes sense. Falcons, Seahawks, Buccaneers, Cowboys to round it out. Come on, dog. Nobody had that order. Just those teams.
No, you're saying the current standings, but of course the Lions would not be able to take the 3 seed if the Vikings are the 1 seed because they get flushed to a wild card. That being said, though, it is interesting, and it makes that Vikings and Lions game the week after that much more interesting. But the Commanders look like they found a quarterback too, and good for them. That's pretty exciting. It's nice to see these young quarterbacks come in and not Bryce Young it, to be honest with you. Because nobody wants
Daniels for real. I cannot tell.
They've had a couple.
I thought this Browns defense. Yeah,
they've had a couple of what I would say kind of cupcake games here, but at the same time, for a rookie quarterback to come in and do what he needs to do against those teams and execute almost not flawlessly, but execute at a high level like that. That to me would suggest at this point, if gun to my head, is he for real? I'm going with he's for real.
I think
and I hope I'm right, because it's good for the NFL to have this next generation. I really do think that the NFL is in good hands as far as these quarterbacks. When we talk about the, our millennial generation nostalgia is all the Tom Brady's and the Drew Brees and the Peyton Mannings have all retired, and Aaron Rodgers is probably the last flame from that generation that's going away. But look at some of these young quarterbacks that are coming in. I really think the NFL is in good hands with these guys.
I tend to agree. I mean, the Browns defense is not what it was last year, but they're not scrubs. I mean, that's a pretty good defense. And Jaden, like, he struggled early in that game, and I know that because I went against him in fantasy. My opponent had him, and I was staring at a nice negative score for a while there, and so he turned it on in the second half to get right. But boy, I mean, if he can look like that against that formidable Browns defense, I think the NFC East might be in for a rude awakening. I mean, there might be some a power shake up there. As much as I hate to say that, but I mean, we definitely shall see.
You can't really look at the Cowboys you can't be looking at the Cowboys and Eagles right now and saying definitively that they're better than the Commanders at this moment.
No, I would not make that argument. That's
a lot of season left to play out, but man, that's an interesting development.
Yeah. And I mean, I would like to see the Eagles get back healthy so that we can get a proper assessment of what that team or what that offense looks like. Because I mean, the past few weeks before this bye, AJ Brown was out, Devonta Smith was out for a game, Lane Johnson was out for a game. So it would be nice to see. Honestly, even though you don't really like the early season buys, could not have come at a better time for the Eagles. So I cautiously optimistic, brighter days are ahead. We'll see.
I know we're not talking about next week yet. Do not lose this game to the Browns next week. Don't lose that game. The turmoil and the firestorm that will come from the Eagles losing to the Browns, especially after what Jaden Daniels just did to the Browns, you are in some serious trouble if you don't win that game by at least 10.
Yeah. I mean, you're right. Sirianni probably the calls for him to get fired are going to be very loud. Is Jalen Hurts really that guy? Question marks are going to be coming out. You're not wrong. Not wrong, sir.
On a much brighter note, we're still talking about the Browns and the Commanders game. I think maybe this might be the right time to bring in the Clown of the Week segment at this moment, because and I think that considering the topic that we were on, I think it might be best if you go first, sir.
Okay. So you know that Voldemort has been the honorary or the default Clown of the Week because he has to be. Just settled another lawsuit or another sexual misconduct allegation, whatever it's labeled as. Color me shocked. He's the P. Diddy of the NFL. Crazy. As of week 5 of the 2024 NFL season, the Washington Commanders defense is ranked 27th in yards per game allowed passing. Voldemort went 15 of 28 for 125 yards, averaging 4.5 yards. He took 7 sacks, fumbled the ball into a defender's arm for the nice cherry on top at the end of that game. That man finished the game with an 8.6 QBR. That is 2 out of 5 games now this season. We're 5 games in, and he already has 2 games with a single-digit QBR. That man is dog shit. With all of that being said, all of that taken into account, the Clown of the Week has to be the Cincinnati Bengals. Has to be the Cincinnati Bengals, who are last in a division with a team that is quarterbacked by the aforementioned Voldemort, who is absolute dog shit. That is completely unacceptable. You have Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase on your offense. I don't care how dog shit your defense is. You should not be last in the division when you are playing with the Cleveland. I can't believe I signed Deshaun Watson Browns to a fully guaranteed contract. It's completely unacceptable. Like, there's no reason for that, especially when one of those L's is to the New England Patriots, who just lost to fucking Tyler Huntley. What? Come on, dog. Clown of the week, bro. You guys should be ashamed of yourselves. That's completely unacceptable. Joe Burrow in the post game conference talking about we're not a championship team right now. What? Are you sure? Come on, dog. Get the fuck out of here, bro. Cincinnati Bengals, y'all are clown of the week.
I love so many things about that sequence. The first one is you looked up so many stats about Deshaun Watson just to name somebody else the clown of the week. That shit is incredible. Yeah, and oh my gosh, that's just amazing. And yeah, you also said that Voldemort was going to be the clown of the week, and the Browns are going to be the clown of the week every single week. Man, color me impressed. Good build up. Good build up, and good job pulling the rug. Even though they lost to the Ravens but they made overtime against the Ravens, and they're still in last in the division, with the Browns. Oh my goodness, absolutely amazing. So I can't beat that. I did actually have an honorable mention that you already mentioned. My honorable mention, which I'll lead with, is just we expected the Patriots to be horseshit, but it's a home game against Tyler Huntley. Come on, you got to win that game. You got to at least win it. Clowns. That's my honorable mention.
I will say I was not aware of the rule that the heel needed to come down in the end zone until I saw that game where they had the go-ahead touchdown to win the game. The receiver came down with the ball and toe tapped both feet, but the second foot only got toes down, did not get a heel down, so they called it no touchdown. I don't know how or when that rule was put into place, because I'm pretty confident I've seen some toe tap touchdowns before in the past. Maybe I'm losing my mind, but for some reason that was not a touchdown, and I can't help but feel like the Pats got robbed, but it's okay. It's the Patriots. We're not going to complain too much about it.
No, we're not going to complain. They have 6 Super Bowls in the last 2 decades, and they should share, and I hope that they are bad for the rest of my life at least, because they deserve that. They need to share those.
Let's ease up. I mean, for the first half of our life, they were very much dog shit. And then they had a miracle 20 years, and then now they're back to status quo. So I think, honestly, maybe all is just right in the world, I think.
Oh, so if they win another Super Bowl, you're okay with that?
It's not. Did you watch the game on Sunday? Did you see any of the highlights? We're not. That's not even.
We're not there. We're not there. But I'm talking more conceptually about how much bad we wish them. Because let's be real. If we expect every team to win a Super Bowl, consecutively, and then every team gets a Super Bowl over the course of 32 years, and then we all just repeat and repeat and repeat. The New England Patriots don't need to win another one for 180 years. So why are we feeling bad for them? So anyway, no sympathy, and I'm going to give you that L, and you can hang on to it.
That's my clown. I will take that.
My clown of the week is a particular human who inspired so much hype in a place where there was none to be found. A man who was signed to a new team as a first ballot Hall of Fame quarterback, was signed to a new team, played 4 snaps and got injured, and let everybody just said, you know what, that's okay. We're just going to wait. We're going to wait a whole year for this guy to come back because he's worth it, because he's shown us that he's worth it. And he comes back and he plays his arch nemesis from a past life, and he goes to London and he throws 3 picks and looks lifeless and miserable on the sideline. This man, of course, is Aaron Rodgers. And as we said at the top of the episode, fuck Aaron Rodgers. And that's a wrap.
He has been unbearable to watch.
He's been horrible. And I was excited. I'll admit it. And during our free agency episode, I said he was the guy I was most excited to watch. We're over that now, because I was excited to see how he do with his new team, but he sucks. He looks like worse than an average quarterback, if I'm calling it a spade right now. The coverage that he's still getting, good Lord, the Vikings go 5-0, And I'm seeing on the Sunday Night Football preview, they're just talking about how Aaron Rodgers isn't himself. Fuck you. The Vikings are 5-0, and all we can talk about is Aaron Rodgers. And this guy is like commanded so much. My goodness. So anyway, I'm fed up with him. I was super happy to see him throw 3 picks against anyone, let alone my squad. It felt like a nostalgia boner, something fierce. So Aaron Rodgers,
one of those picks to give away the game or to seal the game in favor of the Vikings. And what's crazy is on every single one of those picks that he threw, he was looking at the receiver like they fucked up. I was like, bro, you are sailing these balls over the receiver's head. Like it's unacceptable the way you're playing right now. Like you look absolutely atrocious. You look like Anthony Richardson, dog. Like you can't play that way. And they get mad at other people talking about you're not where you're supposed to be. Oh, why is a receiver so trapped? Bro, you, sir, take some accountability, bro. Crazy, dog. Like it's unacceptable what's going on. And what's crazy is Robert Saleh, not saying nothing to him. You need to get your shit together. Robert Saleh might be a sneaky clown of the week at some point because you got to stand up to this goofy ass gray beard. I'm gonna go to a darkness retreat just to come out and play for the New York Football Jets. Like that's a good ass idea. Fucking clown. Retire ass. Get up out the league, dog. It's time.
Well said. Well said. And the sad thing is Robert Saleh will probably lose his job after all this because it's so hard. It's the same thing. I think we talked about this last week with the Broncos and with the Russell Wilson years is like you have to blame, or from a PR standpoint, you can't blame Aaron Rodgers, even though this is clearly on Aaron Rodgers to me, if we're calling a spade. But they have to fight. If they got to fire somebody, they're going to have to fire Saleh. And it's sad because I mean, he had the Jets looking better last year in general without Aaron Rodgers. I mean, debatable, but that defense
with what he was working with, I would agree. I suppose.
No, it's more of a pound for pound kind of thing, but he didn't have much. He made chicken salad. We'll just leave it at that.
Right. Yeah, I suspect, and we can move on off the Jets after this. I suspect after they complete their shit show of a season, they will probably be cleaning house from top to bottom. If I had to guess, because I mean they mortgaged the future on this, and it's clearly not working out. I think there are going to be some very tough conversations had in the very near future in that organization. And with that, though, let's go ahead and move on to our games of the week. Let's go ahead and start with San Francisco, Seattle. Vegas has the Niners favored by 3 points, over under 47.5. Ren has the Niners winning 24-23. Don't seem too confident in that. I've got the Seahawks winning 24-20. I am going to go ahead and give the Seahawks the benefit of the doubt. Everybody gets a fluke game every once in a while. I mean, see the Saints. Hot Dog Jones, a blind squirrel finds a nut every once in a while. I still believe in this Seahawks team. I think they are probably, as it stands now, and this is probably a hot take. I don't know if I really believe this, but they might be the team to beat in the NFC West, and I suspect that I'm thinking this might be a statement game for them in Seattle. It's almost certainly a feelings no fact. We'll see if that holds true if and when C-Mac comes back and they play again at the end of the season. But I mean, Brock Purdy looks out of sorts. The offense looks good but bad at the same time, and it's hard for me to explain what to make of the Niners. But so I mean, I think the Seahawks will take advantage of that dysfunction and right the ship and take a nice commanding lead of the division this week.
I have a hard time disagreeing with anything you're saying. It's just, for me, the statement game opportunity here is more for the Niners in that they have the opportunity to reassert themselves. I don't love them to win this game, but I still at this point, and this game can change that. At this point, the 49ers are a better team on paper, and they've got something to play for here in the fact that they've been playing like absolute shit the last couple of weeks. And I see the vulnerability. If Seattle had won that game against New York, I think I would be picking this differently. And that's maybe the recency bias. And I got to find a way to get rid of that. At the same time, I saw what I saw against Hot Dog Jones, or Bratwurst Jones for the moment. And I see vulnerabilities there, and I think that the 49ers are still, I'm not going to say maybe, no, I'll say it. The 49ers are still an elite team on paper to be reckoned with, and this game is going to be close, but I would not be shocked at all if the 49ers come in and get this W. It's a tough place to play, though, Seattle.
It is. It is. It is a loud stadium. I've been to a game there. It's a pretty sweet stadium to watch a game in.
That's awesome. Who'd you see there? I didn't know you went there.
Actually, it was a preseason game. I think it was Seahawks Bears, but it was still pretty rowdy, even for a preseason game. So I know for a fact during regular season and playoff games that stadium is a madhouse. So I mean, that's like you mentioned, it is not a fun place to be an opposing team in. So we'll see. It's going to be another great Thursday night football game. I mean, the schedule makers, once again, shout out to the schedule makers because they are definitely in their bag this year.
It's amazing.
If they could replicate this every year, bro, the sky's the limit. NFL, honestly, NFL is the best league in America. I'm gonna say it. NBA is a close second.
Yeah.
Come on, Doug.
I'm a hockey guy. Sorry.
Come on, Doug.
We're gonna throw baseball under the bus until the cows come home.
Here, that should be disbanded. We don't watch that shit.
Yeah. I got another interesting game here, or one of our other games of the week. And by the way, I'm just gonna slip this into conversation in case we forget. But we have this spreadsheet where we pick all the games like this. If you'd like to get access to the spreadsheet, send us an email, footballclownsanonymous@gmail.com, and just say, hey, I'd like you to add me to the spreadsheet. And we'll go ahead and add you to the spreadsheet with view access, and you'll be able to keep tabs on the way that we're looking at all these games. We just know from experience the second half of last season that we do not have the ability to talk about all these games within a reasonable episode time. That being said, next game of the week here we want to talk about is Tampa Bay at New Orleans, which is an interesting game of the week because New Orleans is playing right now. So weird things that happen in this game in Monday Night Football could impact how we feel about this game. That being said, I've got the Bucs winning on the road, or I should say, I'm sorry. Vegas has the Saints winning by 2 points at home, and 45.5 is the total. I've got the Bucs winning 24-23. Kurtis has the Bucs winning 27-21. So we're both on the Bucs. I got it a little bit closer. However, based on what I've seen from this New Orleans Saints team, I no longer feel good about that, and I certainly hope that the Bucs are at least closer to pick 'em or favored in this game by the time this game against the Chiefs is over. You can't look at this Saints team that's currently losing to the Chiefs by more than one possession, although they did pick off Patrick Mahomes in the end zone. I just saw they should not be underdogs in this game, and so it'll be an interesting game from a standpoint of asserting themselves back in the division. The Bucs, again, we talked about this. They probably could have or should have won that game against the Falcons. They're still a contender to win that NFC South division. The Saints, after a couple of weeks of kind of really big blowout wins, have come back to earth, and this is going to be the moment where we are all sort of reaffirmed that the Saints are just a regular old team, and Baker Mayfield is # that guy.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, the Buccaneers have definitely been the most consistent team in that division. The fact that they're not favored is kind of wild to me. I don't agree with that, and I might go ahead and add that to the Oracle parlay that the Bucs are going to go ahead and get a little money line action right there, because that's disrespect, and we'll get to why that fits with the theme that we're going with here. Yeah, I agree with everything you're saying. The Saints very much came to, the pump. They've turned back into the pumpkin. Baker Mayfield and the Buccaneers, definitely the real deal. I don't have much to add to that. If we're lucky, we'll get another situation like we just saw last Thursday night with the Bucs and Falcons. Another division chaos, just points galore. But the way that Derek Carr is looking, I don't see that happening. So we're definitely taking the Buccaneers, and I don't have much to add over that.
No, but it's an easy. It's a miss. It's a miss.
Yeah,
by the Vegas odds, I would say.
I
So I
I
agree.
think so. Yeah. And I'm gonna save what I think is the best game for last. So we're gonna go ahead and start talking about the Detroit Lions traveling to Dallas to take on the Cowboys. Vegas has the Lions favored by 3.5, over under 52.5 points, which is kind of interesting. Um, we both have Detroit winning. You have a close 24-23. I'm kind of surprised you have it that close. Well, I guess I got a 29-27.
Yeah, what are you talking about? Kurtis got a 2-point win, and he's complaining that I've got a 1-point win. Come on, man. It's a road
Yeah,
game. Jerry Land's a hard place to play, and the Lions have shown more cracks this year than they did last year. That's just my take.
yeah, that's fair. Excuse me. I don't know. The way the Cowboys have been looking, there's definitely a lot of cracks showing. I mean, they've got some injuries they're working with. The running game is not anything to write home about. If CeeDee Lamb isn't going off, I mean, the offense just seems stalled out, and that Detroit Lions team is liable to put up 30 points on you any given week. I'm not, excuse me, I'm not convinced that the Cowboys can keep up with that any given week. Especially, I mean, that Lions defense is, it's not a bad defense. So I don't necessarily believe in the Cowboys this week at all. I guess I do have the under on or the over on points, but when I was looking at that 52.5, man, it feels kind of high.
Yeah, I think it's one thing to pick it. It is interesting to pick the game as you do. So both of us have a reasonable number of points in this game, but as soon as you see an actual Vegas line that's north of 50 points, really makes you want to hit the under. I mean, I know we've seen some pretty high scoring games. I mean, we talked about Bengals and Ravens this past week that had just a billion points, but it just feels so much safer to hit an under when it just gets leaking to be that high. It's kind of wild to me.
It does. I'm gonna stay away from it because I mean you never know. But it does feel maybe on Sunday I might be struck by some inspiration and want to play around with that a little bit. But I mean it should be a fun game. But Detroit, I'm pretty sure they're going to go ahead and win that game and set up a huge division clash in Week 7.
I'm really looking forward to that. And your game of the week, sir, the Washington, and I can't disagree with you at all. Yeah. The Washington Football Commanders and their new quarterback, Jaden Daniels, are traveling on the road to play the suddenly back where we thought they'd be, Lamar Jackson Ravens. And boy, that is a pivotal match. Or I wouldn't necessarily say it's pivotal, but it's a really great temperature check. Well, it's not so much. It's not like a playoff thing. But it is a really interesting temperature check for Jaden Daniels when we're talking all these things up about how good he's looking these last couple of weeks.
Right.
Is he really that guy? Can you go into a place like Baltimore and play a top team in the NFL and keep it close? He does not have to win that game. He needs to put on a show. I think that he will, and I think that the Ravens are still going to win that game. And just for full transparency, again, I've got the Ravens winning 31-27. Kurtis has 30-24. So we're really in a hive mind on this one. But Vegas has Baltimore favored by 6.5 points. And another interesting over-under at 52.5. Are we still feeling the same under in this game at 52, even though we both have overs? What do you got here?
It's got to be a shootout. I don't see how it's not. I mean, the Commanders are a pass funnel defense. I mean, we just saw Lamar carve up the Bengals. I don't see why he can't do it to the Commanders. Similar to the Ravens. I mean, that's how the Bengals were able to put up points is through the air. And I mean, Jaden Daniels is up to this point proved that he can move the ball through the air. So I would expect a high scoring game here. Again, 52.5. That's a lot of points, man. And I don't have it in me to hit an over on a Washington Commanders game, but man, it does look tempting.
It is tempting, but I think that the hype that's surrounding this game, just to step out of the hype for a moment and think about the sort of where the betting opportunities are. The reason why that point total, or part of the reason why that point total is so high, is because of all that hype. And, how shocked would we be if it was like a 27-21 type of game? That's an under at 52.5. It's kind of crazy to think that. I wouldn't be shocked at all if there's that many points, but it seems like an opportunity for value potentially to. I can't do it though, because I can't actually do it when I picked the game blind. I picked a shootout. I have to stay away from it. There have been a few games, and actually this is just an interesting note. This spreadsheet is really interesting to me because when I'm looking at these Sunday night games and these Monday night games, and I'm thinking to myself, man, maybe I should place a bet on tonight's game. Sports betting, it's a little fun. Just see if I got a little, action to place on these games. I look at what I did and what I predicted in a blind sense, and I let that dictate whether or not I actually think there's value on the line. Last night, I took an under in the Dallas and Pittsburgh game because when I did the blind prediction, I had 33 points in the game, and Vegas had the line at 43.5, and it was higher than I thought, but it was lower than Vegas still. So I got paid on that. But
Nice.
It's an interesting thing to kind of conceptualize these games and how you think they're going to go before you have to pick a side on the Vegas line. You just say, what's the final score? I don't know. I kind of like the way we do this, but that's just, I'm riding a recency bias. I'm hitting that under with the philosophy. So
Sure.
Just a side note.
Yeah. It's why we do it. It's it's a little bit, just a hint, just a little sprinkle of nerd talk. You know what I'm saying? Just seeing how the sausage is made, if you will. Right. Also, Monday Night Football update: Saints scored a touchdown, and of course, they missed the extra point. They are now down by 3.
What a bunch of morons! Make your extra point. You can win with the field goal.
Yeah, that would be too convenient. Got to keep it interesting.
I thought this game actually was an opportunity, and I mentioned that I had a parlay on this game. I actually have 2 parlays on this game. The first one is Saints plus 7.5 and an over at like 34 or something like that, which that's still potentially in jeopardy. The other one I placed because I just said screw it was Saints to win and there to be over the 43.5, and that's not going to happen. And then Kamara to score a touchdown, and there's no way this game's going over at this point. Because teams will like to try to run the clock out with 14 minutes left in the game. There's 30 points. It's a 3-point game. Conservative, cautious play is coming, my friends.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But that's okay. It's only $1.
Right. But with that, you want to rattle off your bets and get up out of here?
Let's do it. So apparently I have an alter ego now. Kurtis and I decided off the air. We decided that I have an alter ego now. So I have to actually...
It's deserved.
I appreciate that. The teaser legs last week, and actually overall on this show, the teaser legs have been doing a really, really nice job coming through. So anyway, I'll take that and I'll split my bets up here. Ren only has 1 bet today. Ren's bet is he's taking the Colts -1. The reason is I think the Colts are going to win that game. They're playing against Tennessee. I don't know if it's Joe Flacco or if it's Anthony Richardson. I don't like what I see from Tennessee. I think they're going to win that game. I know -1 could easily push. I'm not worried about a tie. So -1 could push, but I like the Colts to win the game, and I would assume that then they basically just have to win the game by more than 1 at that point for that to pan out. We both have the Colts winning that game, and that game should be farther towards the Colts than pick 'em after what we've seen from the Colts under Joe Flacco. Now, in the spirit of the Oracle having his own hat, I decided the Scholar also needs to have his own hat. So
can go.
Those of you listening on Spotify, I have put on my PhD graduation cap, and the Scholar will now read his teaser bets. The Scholar,
I love this.
Dr. Ren, the Scholar, has placed bets on the Broncos and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and teaser legs up to +8.5. The Bucs are +8.5 against the Saints. No way. There's no way they're not keeping that game close. And the Broncos, I like them to keep that game close against the Chargers. Just the kind of the way that they play. or kind of the way that the Broncos have been playing. That defense has been playing really well. We have injury questions with the Chargers. It's a road division game for them. Give me the Broncos up to +8.5. And the other one is Kurtis actually inspired me to pair the Bucks +8. It's +8.5, but I waited a little while, so the line moves a little bit. So it's Bucks +8, and I took the Jets up to +8.5. They're playing Monday Night Football against the Buffalo Bills. A lot of question marks with the Bills right now, and Josh Allen. I can't see them playing a road division game and blowing out the Jets. Aaron Rodgers is not playing for his job because he's Aaron Rodgers, but let's be real, he's playing for pride at this point. So he's going to put up a reasonable show. They'll keep that game close. I forgot to mention one thing as the scholar has to have, good justification for having the Bucks in both of his legs. Consider this. The Saints are playing tonight. The Bucks have been resting since Thursday. So think about the rest disparity of 4 days between these two teams as another reason why Tampa Bay is primed to perform well against this Saints team. Not to mention the fact that we have some serious question marks about the Saints going forward. So anyway, those are my bets.
I'm glad you touched on that because I definitely was looking at that and wondering what the scholar was thinking. That is a very it's a bold move for the scholar anyway to have a repeat team in two parlays. But I'm here for it. I love it. I love I love leaning into it. I love the hat. Is it called a hat? What the hell is that thing called?
I don't actually know. I'm gonna have to Google this in the off, not the off season. The what is it? Off the air. I'm gonna have to Google this and bring it next time. But I'm glad I could come through with that one for you.
Absolutely. In the back of my mind, I was hoping you would do that, but I was like, you know what? I'm a back off my co-clown. I'm gonna give him his space. We'll see what happens.
Give me my space and let me cook. I've been cooking all year so far. So
honestly, you might. Damn, we should have called you the goddamn chef. Giving you a chef's hat.
I know what I'm getting on Amazon Prime Day from the Oracle.
Oh, bro, my card is locked and loaded. I need a monitor. But off air, Kurtis is going to go into his bets. Kurtis decided to throw together a teaser leg. I'm gonna try my hand at a teaser leg. Historically, they have not worked out that great for me for whatever reason. We're fucking rock and roll, bro. Let's fucking go. Jacksonville +8.5, Jets +8.5. I'm gonna be honest, I am slightly nervous about that Jets 8.5 line. I've Roger said he'll be good for Monday. He is dealing with the low ankle sprain. We'll see. It's more of a bet on the Jets defense to keep them in that game and keep things close and competitive than it is Aaron Rodgers on the offense to make any kind of noise. We'll see how that goes. We're going Atlanta, Carolina under 47.5. Atlanta has had their fair share of dud games, and we know that Carolina can't put up points. I don't see that being a high scoring, high flying game, and we both picked it as such, so I think that's a pretty nice under there. And I'm gonna go Cleveland and Philly under 43.5. We know Voldemort is dog shit, and until he gets benched, which he needs to get benched, that Cleveland offense can't put up points. And until that Philly offense can show me that they can put up points in a respectable manner, against a reasonable Browns defense, I think it's fair to assume that game is probably not going to be featuring quite a bit of points. And let's say the Eagles offense does put up a bunch of points. What are the Browns doing? Not a goddamn thing. Under 43.5.
Nothing.
And since the Oracle's coming out.
There it is. And for those of you listening on Spotify, the Oracle's hat is a Disney Goofy hat.
And the Oracle took it easy this week. We just have a 3-leg parlay. And the theme of the parlay this week is put some fucking respect on their name, dog. Washington 6.5 point underdogs to the Ravens. They're 4-1. What are they? 4-1 right now. The Ravens are 3-2. I understand the Ravens are the Ravens, but put some respect on their name. The Commanders are going to keep it close. They get a +7.5 line. Houston
is going to beat the dog shit out of the New England Patriots. They're definitely covering 6.5 points. And we already talked about it. The Buccaneers being the underdog against the New Orleans Saints, that's a Bucks money line, bro. That completely unacceptable. Put some fucking respect on their name. And that is the 3-leg parlay that the Oracle is making.
I love that you have a theme on these parlays. This is pretty awesome. A couple weeks ago you had like a division, it wasn't a division one, it was like a conference one, or maybe it was a division one.
Yeah, last week was the NFC South. The week before was all divisional, all the divisional matchups of the week.
That's right. And let's not forget, I know it was 2 weeks ago, you hit all 5 of those legs, sir.
That is correct, sir. The week 2 I had lucky sevens. That worked out wonderfully.
That worked out by you going 0 for 6.
0 for 6, correct. Week 3 is the only week that I didn't do what's that, themed. But I think moving forward, I'm gonna try and keep it themed, because that is kind of fun. I kind of dig it.
Yep. No, I like it. I looked at that and I did not see a theme until you said, "Put some respect on our name," and I said, "You know what?
Bro, it took me a while to get there.
Every single one of those legs it's perfect."
Yes, I'm gonna be honest. I struggle with it because and it didn't really come to me. It didn't come to me in its totality until we talked about that Bucs Saints game. But yeah, I mean, I feel good about where we're at so far this year. I think we've got a good thing going. If the Oracle can hit on a couple more of these parlays this year, no chance that we end outside of the black unless we blow it all during the playoffs and the Super Bowl like we tried to last year.
We did a withdrawal to make sure that we didn't blow it all in the Super Bowl, because we were up to like $120 or something like that off our $120, and we're like, you know what? Let's pull our 100 back out and blow the rest, because we will blow all 120 on the Super Bowl, and it will not go well.
And that's because we felt good. I don't remember, it was late in the season, but we hit a pretty sizable parlay, and I think we put down a good amount of money on it. I think it was like a $5 or $10 bet or something crazy, and and it hit, and we were like, okay, leaving the casino.
Yeah, exactly. Let's go. I just thought I'd play a slot machine for a second. Or no, I'm sorry. I just put a unit on double zeros on the roulette table, and it hit. Goodbye. I'm leaving now.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that's the pod. I mean, with that, like, comment, subscribe, follow us on YouTube, hit us up at footballclownsanonymous@gmail.com. Interact with us. Tell us we're garbage. Tell us you love what we're doing. Love to hear from you. All right. With that, we'll catch you next week.
All right. Thanks, Coke Clown. See ya.